What about Trump? We've had a few questions about Trump.
I'm not sure he's going to be as bad as everybody says he's going to be. He's a very transactional individual. Property developers tend to be like that, which means he'll say what he needs to do to get the deal through, and he'll change. I said he'll turn on a dime, and that can be a quality because he doesn't get stuck going down a certain path if he thinks it's not going to work, and it can also be a weakness because you can sometimes not stick at something which eventually you can make work. So I think the jury's out, but as the guys showed during the presentations, the market reaction was positive to Trump coming in, at least in the States, less so around the rest of the world, which is worried about his tariffs.
What about his engagement with Russia? Might that have an impact on the economy? Is it affecting the way that you and the team are looking at stocks around the world, and where?
Not really. We tend to just focus on the value. We can't really buy Russian stocks at the moment. That's impossible. So it doesn't affect us too much. But in terms of his engagement, I think he's coming back into power at a time when it looks like Ukraine and Russia are both tiring of the conflict. It's having, Ukraine won't want to keep on a war footing forever, and Russia's economy is suffering. So if they're both looking for a reason to sort things out, and Trump comes in and it happens just as he takes over the presidency, he is going to look pretty good, isn't he? But as Napoleon says, always get a lucky general. So perhaps Trump is that lucky general or president.
You talked about military spending, but you didn't go into Russia's military spending. Have you got any views and perspectives? They were a significant spender, obviously not as high as the US, but still quite a lot. Yeah,
they do spend a lot. I forget where they came. They may have been third or fourth after the US. I know it was US and then China. Obviously the Russian economy is on a military footing at the moment, as is Ukraine's, as ours was in World War II. And an economy on a military footing looks very different to an economy in peacetime. But it would be difficult for Russia to maintain this action in Ukraine. And I think possibly it's due to the conflict that Russia has with Ukraine that the Syrian government fell recently, and Assad had to flee his own country. Perhaps if Russia had not been involved in Ukraine, they'd have been backing him a lot more. As it is, that didn't happen.
If the Ukraine conflict is brought to an end in 2025 with Trump's boost, what effect will this have on stock markets, particularly in Europe?
It'll be very positive. There'll be a peace premium. There'll be an opportunity, I think, for the long term to re-establish links to get cheaper energy from Russia. So it will be nothing but positive for markets.
Sticking just with Russia, we have one more question that involves them. Will the growth of hacking by, say, Russia and China have an effect on our economy? And the question states also here that 3 hospitals in the UK were hit last week.
Hacking has an effect, but in an odd way it creates activity because organisations have to employ other hacking firms. I think the phrase is the white witches or white hackers to test their own systems. So it creates an infrastructure of security measures which actually adds to the economy. So in a bizarre sort of way, crime creates activity and boosts GDP.
Well, this is one thing that we know, isn't it? That hackers are always trying new ways to do things, but that creates innovative ways to stop things happening, and something that we naturally in this industry are on the cusp of daily.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary. What are your views on the deadlock of France and Germany? Similarly, what might be the outcomes of political instability in France and Germany? And more broadly, are there any geopolitical policies in the next 10 years that might throw the world economy into a spin?
The ones that throw the world economy into a spin are the ones that are not on our radar now. So they're the ones that catch. You can talk about the ones that we all expect. We've got the tensions between Russia and Ukraine. You've always got the potential of a flare-up in the Middle East. You've got the potential of China making a military bid to bring Taiwan into the communist fold. But others can suddenly spring up and others can just dissipate and come to an end. So there's always the potential for something to disrupt world peace and world markets.